This week on 911 Emergency Bermuda.
Fire prevention is very important. Believe it or not, the people in the Fire Prevention Division are actually working to work us out of a job when it comes to fighting fires.
We meet the brave men and women of the Bermuda Fire Service.
And we had a bike rider that was following the truck, and as we came to a stop, the rider actually hit the back of the vehicle.
From the fire chief to the newest recruit.
If you're in a room that has a closed door, feel it with the back of your hand. You don't want to grab with the palm of your hand, and generally just stay low.
We get the 411 on dialing 911.
Most challenging thing is having people who are uninformed about how the system works.
911, what's your emergency?
In the case of an emergency, there are 3 critical responders who are first to the scene. The fire service, the ambulance, and the police service. Working tirelessly to support our community, we meet face-to-face with these brave men and women who share insights into their departments, the roles they each play, and the key information you need to know in a crisis. 911 Emergency Bermuda is brought to you by the Lindos Group of Companies. This is 911 Emergency Bermuda.
Let me start by first introducing myself. My name is Reginald Lloyd Birchall. I'm the present serving Chief Fire Officer for the Bermuda Fire and Rescue. I've been serving now for 3 years. I'm in the 8th in the line of all the fire chiefs that have served Bermuda. In actual fact, we have quite a rich history. Our first chief, Mr. Chief Fire Officer Petty, actually started in 1946. And he actually served for about 20 years. And so forth and so forth. We've had about 3 Bermudian fire chiefs. And basically, in the start, I only found out on a recent seminar in the US that Bermuda took delivery of the first diesel fire trucks from Mack. And let me just say that it's a pleasure actually to be here as part of this interview process in order to share information with Bermuda and the people that actually live here. We also serve visitors, as a matter of fact. That question, depending on who you ask, could have a lot of options. Some people, the fire service is the actual fire trucks. When they see the fire trucks, they light up and say, oh, this is the fire department. For me, the biggest resource and the meaning of the Bermuda Fire Service are the people that work here. They are our most important resource, and they're the ones that basically get the message out there of what we do and how we do it. We pride ourselves in trying to also make that whatever incident that we go to, that we try to serve everybody as professionally and as kindly as possible. So that is, when I look at it, the average Mrs. Smith, she is our #1 customer, to ensure that when we arrive, that she's taken care of and that she's happy with the services that we provide. In general, our job is to mitigate any type of incident that is an emergency to people. We strive in trying to understand that when a person uses 911, they need help, and they need help as quickly as possible. And they need the professional, the skill sets that we deliver to be able to respond as quickly as possible and as safe as possible, and to ensure that when we leave, that the persons have been served in the best interest of the country and of the service. And we pride ourselves on that. That's our #1 PR, to ensure that anybody that we attend to, that we remain professional, and we are prompt, efficient, as well as courteous. At one time, believe it or not, we had about 5 fire stations before the amalgamation of all of the fire departments. We used to have the St. George's Volunteers, which was separate, the Airport Fire Department, which was separate. And each of those two entities had their own locations, and then of course our 3 fire stations. So in total we had 5 locations. Since we've amalgamated, there's 1 fire department, Bermuda Fire and Rescue Service. We actually now house the St. George's Volunteers and the Airport Fire Department with the structural in 1 building at the eastern end. We also respond now from the eastern end with an ambulance. So we actually do transporting of any patients from the eastern end in our own ambulance. Believe it or not, the Port Royal Station, which is one of our substations, which is manned from day to day, 24-hour period with 4 persons. And they also have an ambulance there now from the hospital. They can sometimes run in tandem, meaning that, for example, an RTA where a person is actually either trapped and injured, the fire truck will run in tandem with the ambulance. The ambulance would provide the EMS portion of the incident whilst the fire personnel would do the extrication. Right now there's 91 firefighters, which includes 3 females who are actually working on shift. About 80% are all qualified at EMT. Some are EMT basics and some are EMTIs. The difference is that an EMTI can actually provide intravenous intervention. EMTBs will do your basic EMT skill sets. Even as we speak in today's terms for the Bermuda Fire and Rescue Service, I would say 75% of our duties has been focused on emergency medical services. As a matter of fact, we average now about 8,000 calls a year, and like I said, 75% are emergency medical services. But we still get fires. Most of our fires are confined usually to residential small fires, and because of the construction of Bermuda housing, concrete, most of the times they're confined to 1 room. Not similar to like some other jurisdictions where most residences consist mainly construction of wood, which doesn't lend too well when an actual fire takes place. So we're fairly lucky in Bermuda because our construction helps with confinement of fire, and because of the 21 miles, and the locations of the fire stations, we average about 8 minutes when we receive a 911 call to actual arrival. At present, we have 8 volunteers located in the St. George's area. They're quite active. We are going to, in the future, look to try to expand and hopefully even look at expanding the volunteer services even to the Central Parish. But that, again, is going to rely on basically people that want to commit to volunteering for such a vocation. On many occasions, depending on the actual incident, we work jointly with those other entities in the emergency services. For example, let's say we have a road traffic accident, or what we call now a road traffic collision. You can have the police there who mainly are trying to discover if there's any crime committed and to handle the administrative part of the road traffic collision. The hospital, again, will respond with us and we work with them to help mitigate any of the medical issues. And of course, the fire service, of course, will work jointly to mitigate any extrication needs, because we carry heavy rescue equipment in order to cut people out of cars. We have a history actually that our ambulance has been in service for over 40 years. Mainly in the first instance, we used to have an ambulance mainly to take care of firefighters. So if a firefighter was injured at a fire, either through heat stress or anything like that, overcome by smoke, they're able to leave promptly and go directly to the hospital without the need of waiting for an ambulance. However, in modern times, we've actually worked out an MOU with the hospital, and we are now going to provide, or have been providing, an ambulance from the eastern end of the island. With that, we also allow for the ambulance to be placed from the hospital at the western end of the island. So now we have island-wide coverage when it comes to ambulances being promptly able to respond and very short and effectively transport people to the hospital. Fire prevention is very important. Believe it or not, the people in the Fire Prevention Division are actually working to work us out of a job when it comes to fighting fires. Because their job is to prevent, is to ensure that all of those components that will include fire safety in the building construction are evident and working. And they do this by going out and doing inspections. Even before the building is built, they are in consultation with architects and engineers and designers of the buildings to ensure that, number one, what we call the NFPA codes, which is the North American code for fire safety. And they inspect licensed premises, provide fire drills, they do risk assessments of buildings. As a matter of fact, all of our fire prevention officers are arson investigators as well. I've served in the past as an arson investigator. Obviously now I don't have any time. If some people are familiar with the show CSI, when you see them doing an arson investigation, it's nothing like that. It can be a long, dirty job, going through the debris in the building and trying to find the source of the fire. And part of that investigation is really a process of elimination. You try to establish what didn't happen, what are the causes of fire, and were they present? And as you eliminate it, you come down to what was possible or probable. And you actually design a theory. It's almost like a murder investigation. You have, in the instance, a theory. In a murder investigation, of course, you have your suspects, and you eliminate them through a process of interviews, as well as discovering any evidence and trying to place the evidence in the actual fire to ensure that, you know, what you see, what you hear makes a story and that you can prove. So also the fire investigator or arson investigator is responsible for providing that evidence in court. So he would help or work with the police, in conjunction with the police, to ensure that the court case is provided with an expert witness, will be that arson investigator. We do a 1 week fire prevention, I would say, help to the people of Bermuda. It's not very well attended, so we're actually looking and thinking on how we can do this better. One of the things that we're actually going to employ as a new initiative is home visits. We're going to actually go out and survey homes, and we're going to ask some very critical questions. For example, is there a smoke detector present? Do the people have a drill, exit drill on how to get out of their house in the middle of the night? As well as, are there any fire issues that may be present in the house? Is there any flammable liquid stored? Where are they stored? Do they have a fire extinguisher? Do they know how to use the fire extinguisher? These are things that will help us to better educate the people in Bermuda, because a lot of people are, I guess, busy. So Fire Prevention Week, maybe probably in most people's, I would say, mind, way at the back. And at the end of the day, they don't have the time to probably give any interest to the Fire Prevention Week. So we're going to do things differently. We're going to go to the people, and we're going to visit houses and residences and try to educate them and their families. And I think we're also going to look at those people that may have additional issues, such as the elderly, the handicapped, and we're going to try to make sure that this information becomes useful to us so that we may be able to pre-plan and know what type of residents and what is actually out there. Because I think that's what we need to do also, is to be able to survey the people and find out if we could be an even better service to them. And I think that's critical, to be able to go out there and ask those questions. What do they think about the fire service, and how can we best serve our community? There are no issues in-house with women joining the fire department. We've had a history of women in the fire department. We found that they're quite capable of doing the job as a firefighter. They also, at crew level, bring a different degree of I would say, some of the attributes that women have to crew life. And we've seen that they actually help calm some situations, especially after dealing with a really bad incident. You find that women have a very good talent for helping men deal with some of the issues.
Coming up next, Lieutenant Albert J. Donovan discusses safety in the home. Stay tuned for this and a special exclusive as cameras enter the burn room for the first time ever, when we return on 911 Emergency Bermuda.
What you want to do is make sure that you have a working fire or smoke alarm.
911, what's your emergency?
You want to be in a Linda's commercial? Or do you have any experience?
A little.
The name's Di James, straight out of Wales.
Have you ever worked with animals?
I have a pig, a fish, a cow.
So not much experience. Are you funny?
Some people say I am.
Can you say this? Linda's, why go anyplace else?
Lindo's, why go where?
Not gorilla flying. Do you like fajitas?
Not really.
Don't call us, we'll call you. Next!
You're watching 911 Emergency Bermuda, brought to you by the Lindo's Group of Companies.
My name is Albert J. Donovan. I'm a lieutenant in the training division within the Bermuda Fire and Rescue Service. Initially, when a recruit comes in, they undergo a 18 to 24-week training program, which is held here on the island, and it also is culminated with an overseas patch of training as well. Once the recruit graduates and goes on to the operations division, they undertake a 2-year probationary period. From there, after they have confirmed into the post, then they can undertake promotional examinations, which gives them the ability to move upward. We have 2 in-house promotion exams, which is to take you to the level of sergeant and lieutenant. Also, you will undertake a fair amount of overseas courses to enhance the skill set that you've acquired during that period of time. We have 3 other divisions other than the operations division. Operations division includes the airport operations division, which is located at the Al F. Wade International Airport or Clearwater Station, and as well as the Eastern Volunteer Division. The Fire Prevention Division is responsible for the fire awareness, enforcing the new legislation laws, so they can actually go out and enforce the legislation that has been imposed on the Bermuda public, as well as fire safety and awareness. The training division is responsible for the education of the staff, both in-house and as well as members of the public. So the career paths that an individual can take is limited, but at the same time, you do have opportunities to come out of the traditional operations division and work within the fire prevention or training division, or a smaller division in staff, which is responsible for the administration and the public relations of the fire service itself. We also have an engineering division, which is a support division, which provides the state of readiness for our vehicles as well as the equipment, and then also the dispatch. On a daily basis, the vehicles and the equipment are assessed on a daily basis or inspected, and the inspections are recorded. So the trucks stay in a state of readiness, the trucks as well as the equipment on board the vehicles, the respective vehicles. And as far as training, we train daily. So whenever a firefighter or whenever staff come in, we conduct a training session through the course of their shift, whether it's a day shift or a night shift. Sometimes that's superseded by a very long incident. So if an incident takes precedence, then sometimes there will be no training. But training is routinely on an everyday basis while you're on shift. It could be theoretical training where we have our training room where we actually set up PowerPoint presentations to enhance it from a theoretical standpoint. And then after that, they may do it in a module sense in this, that we start off from a theoretical perspective and then go out and actually practice what we've learned in theory. Well, outside of the fires, we obviously one of our remits is to respond to road traffic collisions, and also medical calls at the various residents amongst the island. So we've equipped with various skill sets in extrication, as well as patient handling and care. Yeah. Well, actually, I experienced that personally. We were responding to an incident in the vehicle in the west end of the island. And we had a bike rider that was following the truck, and as we came to a stop, the rider actually hit the back of the vehicle, our vehicle. Fortunately, he wasn't hurt bad, but it could have been a lot worse. So I say, do not follow the trucks. Well, the majority of the members in the service are EMT trained, and also they've well equipped and skilled with the extrication tools. So when we go to a road traffic collision, the first instance is to stabilize the scene to ensure that there is scene safety, and then to establish the nature of the casualty's condition, and from there to determine whether or not they need to be extricated from the vehicle. If so, we will bring out what they've coined as the jaws of life, and we will extricate the casualties from the vehicle, and then hand them over to the King Edward's Memorial Hospital EMT staff. The difference between the advanced and the basic is that the advanced has the ability to to introduce an advanced airway adjunct into the patient, which ensures that they maintain an open airway during the patient care, and also IV cannulation, so that we can administer fluids as well as drugs that will be prescribed or under direction of the medical profession at the King Edward's Memorial Hospital's emergency department. In the first instance, what you want to do is to dial 911 and then to activate the manual pull station and to alert the building's manager. You can extinguish the fire if it's small with using a fire extinguisher. If you cannot do that, then evacuate so that you prevent injuries to yourself as well as other co-workers. And please do not wedge any of the doorways open, because that allows for the smoke and fire to travel to other areas of the building. Doors have a fire rating, and some of them is an hour, 2 hours. So with the door closed, what it does, it just prevents the spread of fire to the other areas. So it isolates the fire into a specific area, which enables us to have less of an area to actually fight fire. No, you should not open the doors. Leave them closed and exit the buildings using the respective exit ways. Currently, we administer fire extinguisher training as well as fire marshal training here at the Hamilton Fire Station. And also, at the request of some of the cruise ships, we will also provide training to the fire personnel that is on board the ships, as well as some of the private yachts. So we have trained a number of ship personnel as well as fire personnel on board a yacht. What you want to do is make sure that you have a working fire or smoke alarm. To ensure that it is working, at the daylight saving times, you want to make sure that you change the batteries at daylight saving time when the clock goes forward and when it springs back. That would ensure that the alarm or the smoke alarm or fire alarm is working. You want to develop a fire escape plan within your house and make sure that you practice it and everyone is aware of the actual plan. Candles, obviously this time of the year it's cold, so people's going to use candles. Make sure that you use the candles with care, and also don't overload any electrical outlets. When you see the vehicles parked at the east and west standby positions, what's happened is that we have three zones. The island is split into 3 zones, response zones. And what's happened is when you see the vehicles at the standby points, what they are doing is that they're extending their coverage to provide the necessary protection for that zone when another vehicle is either out of service due to a prolonged call or some type of vehicle breakdown, or if the ambulances are overloaded with calls as well. So you will see the vehicles. So they're not just sitting out there, they're actually there to provide the coverage or extra coverage to that zone. Well, the fire chief, Mr. Birchall, is he had a vision to improve the look. We had a different look, a more casual look in the past, and he's come up with this uniform along with some of the advice of his committee, and it's given us a little bit of a smarter look, and something that I actually like. But yeah, it just came into play on February 1st. So this is the 3rd day, and my first time wearing it. So feel pretty good and proud to wear the uniform. Yeah.
Coming up next, we'll be talking with rookie firefighter Mark Pryor.
Lots of pieces to this puzzle that you need to be aware of and need to excel at in order to make it through. And I enjoyed each and every one of those challenges.
And also emergency medical dispatcher Janae Foley.
You want to do the best you can. I mean, you want to do the best you can with all calls. So it will affect you knowing the person on the other end a little bit more than it will affect you when you don't know who's on the other end. But you want to give the best to everyone.
911, what's your emergency?
Stay tuned for this and our Burn Room exclusive when we return on 911 Emergency Bermuda. You're watching 911 Emergency Bermuda, brought to you by the Lindos Group of Companies. Headquarters for Bermuda Fire and Rescue Service is located at the L.F. Wade International Airport, where this team of firefighters provides service to the east end of the island. They are specialized to handle all aviation and airport-related situations, and their vehicles are specifically designed for that purpose and are too big for Bermuda's roads. Often operating on an active runway, these firefighters are in constant contact with air traffic control, so they themselves don't become an incident. "911 Emergency Bermuda" got an exclusive up-close look at these amazing machines. Bermuda Fire and Rescue Service has an array of vehicles at their disposal to cover any emergency, be it by land or sea. While these trucks are impressive, it takes an impressive person to operate them. Becoming a firefighter is not easy. We talked to the newest rookie about what it takes to make the cut.
My name is Mark Pryor, and I'm a firefighter at the Airport Operations Division. Since January 1st officially, and I've been a recruit since August. To me, being a firefighter means being able to put your country before yourself at all times, in a unique way, and with very unique skills. Skills that help us protect, for fire protection, provide emergency medical services in all areas of the island. To me, it means being part of a family that holds each other accountable for our training. We eat together, we learn together, and we serve together. A training partner of mine, Jay Astwood, he's a firefighter. He told me that there were positions available and I should consider applying. So I said, yeah, I'm going to do it. And I did. I would say anyone who has grit, determination, and the heart to serve their country. If they have that fire inside them that they want to protect their friends, the family, and the community as a whole, wants to be amongst the community, that's the first step. You should consider being a firefighter. And if you make it through the recruit process, they'll teach you the rest. I'm the type of person that wants to see what I'm made of. I want to see where I fit in the grand scheme of things. Personally, I'd like to use my skills in the PR department, but I also want to see what I can do as a regular firefighter on the structural side as well as the airport side. As a recruit, from August onward, we had a couple months of training in the structural side, and we went away to Canada, FESTI, which is a firefighting school at Pearson Airport in Toronto. And from there, we learned how to drive the airport rescue fire vehicles. We learned to get our structural firefighting certification and our airport firefighting certification as well. So we got 3 certifications there. And while we were there, we were training alongside firefighters from across Canada, and large exercises, real fire, mock-up planes, all the necessary skills and drills that we needed to do for our job when we were to come back home. There's moments like those you realize we're not just a family locally, we're an extended family. For me, communicate to see if there's anyone else in the house, in the building, in the structure. Let them know there's a fire, and find a way to an exit. Call 911. If you're in a room that has a closed door, feel it with the back of your hand. You don't want to grab with the palm of your hand, and generally just stay low. As a recruit, we train and we prepare for those situations, but to be honest, nobody knows how they're going to react until the time comes, and that's what we train for. So for those who think they're strong, some may question themselves on the day, but that's why we're a family. We hold each other accountable, we train together, we learn together, we serve together, and that's what we do. We're always ready. Look after your appliances at home, make sure all the candles are put out before you go to bed. Essentially, look out for each other. That's all I can say. There was a lot of applicants, so nerves were present. You're questioning yourself, the effort you put in, and basically what you want to figure out is, do you have what it takes to make it through? And if you're not that confident person, if you don't have that grit, heart, and determination, you're not going to make it through. And like I said, when you do make it through the recruit process, they'll teach you the rest. And I enjoyed the whole journey. If it's too easy, there's something wrong. This is specific training, a very unique set of skills that we use, and it's important for us to know. So with that in mind, I enjoyed the challenges. Things like the heat chamber, things like BA endurance, breathing apparatus endurance. There are lots of things, lots of pieces to this puzzle that you need to be aware of and need to excel at in order to make it through. And I enjoyed each and every one of those challenges. The heat chamber, essentially, once we got to the point where we were familiar with our breathing apparatus equipment, the first introduction to it was a demonstration. They would light one pellet just to see how the gas is formed, how the flame reacts in a certain environment. And of course, you're down there. And as the training progressed, they put more and more pallets, so we get to see more realistic situations of a house fire. And not only being on the ground, but standing up as well to see the specific applications of our training, why we would stay low to the ground as opposed to standing up, even with our protective equipment. It was a very important piece of our training, and for all the future firefighter recruits, look forward to it as well.
My name is Janae Foley, and I'm an emergency medical dispatcher at Bermuda Fire and Rescue Service. The calls are answered at police come-ups So they're the first point of contact, and they will ask you police, fire, or ambulance, which service you require, at which point they will do what they need to do to make sure you get the correct department. Exactly how the 911 system works is, like I said, it's originally answered at police come-ups. They'll ask you police, fire, or ambulance, which service you require. If you require fire or ambulance, they will transfer you to fire dispatch, where the phone is picked up by 2 dispatchers. You have 1 call taker and 1 dispatcher. The call taker will ask you a series of questions, and the dispatcher will dispatch accordingly, giving the answers, using the answers that are given. First of all, the first question we ask is where you're located. In the event that the call is cut off, at least we know where we're sending help. So we will ask, if you're located in a building, we need a building number, a street name, color of building, and directions, including a landmark. Sometimes people are not aware of the number or the street name of the building that they're in. Sometimes they're unaware of the street that they're even located on in the event of an accident, and it's just happened and they're there. They know they're on North Shore Road, so sometimes we have to ask a few more questions. Are you near the gas station? Do you see any street signs? So that we can get an exact location to where the call is located. These questions are important because we give this information to the first responders so that they know, they're aware of what they're responding to, and they can get physically and mentally prepared. We also use the information that we're given to give pre-arrival instructions, whether it be a medical call or a fire call. It isn't a waste of time. Like I said, while the call taker is asking a question, a dispatcher is already dispatched. So in most cases, the call taker is still talking to the caller when the call is dispatched. Sometimes even while the vehicles are already on the road. I can't recall one specific, but it's usually when we have multiple calls going on at once, and resources are being pulled each and every direction. You definitely have to multitask. Like I said, we dispatch for fire and ambulance, so we have to be aware of where all fire trucks and ambulances are at any time of the day or night. So we need to, if we have 3 calls going on, 1 in east, west, and central, we have, depending on the call, we could have all the vehicles out at one time, and then something else could happen. So you need to know what's available and what can respond next. Once a call is inputted, the call can be seen on the map, so we can get a better location of where you are, but that's only if we have the exact information. And if that's the correct information, we can see you on a map, and it's not like Google Maps where you can actually see. It's just a black and white map where you can see that it's a building there, and we all know it's like the 3rd building in on the right, but we have no other information other than that. You have to know coming in that this is a thankless job. You answer the phone, you help people the best way you can, and sometimes even though you do everything you can, people are not happy with the response that they get. It would definitely have to be a career. If you're not a person that genuinely wants to help people, then this is probably not the job for you. If you're someone who's very emotional, it may not be the job for you. Emotions tend to run up and down depending on the type of calls that you get. You kind of have to deal with each call as it comes, and then leave the work at work when you leave. You want to do the best you can. I mean, you want to do the best you can with all calls, so it will affect you knowing the person on the other end a little bit more than it will affect you when you don't know who's on the other end, but you want to give the best to everyone. I deal with the stress of work by kind of leaving it at work when I leave here. I mean, sometimes things will pop back into your mind, but I like to spend time with friends and family and just relax. I would advise anybody who genuinely cares and wants to help people without being thanked for it to get into this type of career. Anybody who is interested in maybe the medical field but doesn't want to get right hands-on, this is a blind environment, and so we are given some medical training at the beginning, and you tend to pick up more as time goes on. You get the basics. So if you're really interested in helping people, then this is a job for you. Most challenging thing is having people who are uninformed about how the system works. You have those people who are saying, why you ask me all these questions, please just send me some help. And like I've said, the help's being sent while that person is talking to you. So the more accurate information you can give us, the better we can help you. We'll give you pre-arrival instructions based on whatever information you give us. So if it's a medical call, we can give CPR instruction, we can give the Heimlich maneuver instructions, or any type of instructions that you need. I have had people ask me to stay on the line, and I will do that and talk them through it. People are scared sometimes when they're alone. I find the seniors, even if they don't ask, it's good to stay on the line with them, as well as children. All 911 dispatch calls are recorded. They can be used later on in case of court cases, or if there's a complaint, or even if there's somebody writes in to say that someone did a good job. We have to consider all calls are genuine until there's a pattern, until we can prove that. And most times, if you ask enough questions, someone will hang up, or they'll give some type of answer where you know that something's not right, and then we can also send police. Everyone considers a different instance an emergency. So we have to take everyone's call as an emergency and send them the help that they require based on the information they give us. Sometimes the ambulance will get there and they're not needed, and the person doesn't have to go. I would say encourage people to call because it may very well be an emergency. It'll be an emergency to them and they need help. Once they get there, sometimes people can still go to the hospital, but they may not need an ambulance, and they'll go later or go by private transportation. If the person feels that they have an emergency, they should call 911. We'll send them the appropriate response. Once the first responders get on scene and do their assessment, if the caller decides that they don't want to go, then they can opt not to. I would also like to advise people to call 911 directly. We have a lot of people who call a loved one or a friend and give them the information, but when they call, they're not able to answer the questions that we need answered to get the help there. We can get the person there, but we would like to give the first responders some information before they get there so that they know what they're responding to.
911, what's your emergency?
Stay tuned for the special exclusive as cameras enter the burn room for the first time ever when we return on 911 Emergency Bermuda. You're watching 911 Emergency Bermuda, brought to you by the Lindo's Group of Companies. Now, exclusively for 911 Emergency Bermuda, for the first time ever, the Bermuda Fire Service is permitting our team to take a camera into a hot situation, the burn room. Never before has film footage been captured of this high-stakes testing ground for Bermuda's firefighters, but today, we'll take you firsthand into the blaze. First things first, without the proper equipment and training, there's no entering this danger zone. Our intrepid cameraman, Desai Jones, dares to go where no cameraman has gone before, and he's undertaken the training to be certified.
what's your emergency?
On next week's episode,
the Emergency Measures Organization, they're a body that is mandated by government to get together and during critical times, i.e. storms and hurricanes, to make the best decision for the community.
One of the cameras actually rotates, covers the entire island.
My role here is at the police support unit is actually basically maintaining public order.
911, what's your emergency?